The mail truck was still running when they found him. Engine on, door open, route half finished. The kind of mid-afternoon scene that should resolve itself in seconds. The carrier would return, gather the remaining parcels, move to the next stop. Except he did not return. And by the time the first 911 came through at 12:30 p.m., there was already nothing anyone could do. He had been shot 4 times in the back and in the head while standing at a cluster of community mailboxes on a street he had walked hundreds of times before, in broad daylight, in front of witnesses who heard every shot but could not stop any of them. Multiple people were close enough to hear the sounds and see a figure fleeing. Not one of them knew what they were watching until it was already over. The person who killed him knew exactly where he would be. They had been building that knowledge for weeks, quietly, methodically, using access they were never supposed to have again. His name was Jason Schaefer. He was 33 years old. This is not a story about a random act of violence in a quiet neighborhood. It is a story about what happens when the people who are supposed to be the most familiar, the most knowable, become the most dangerous. Jason had come to the post office the way a lot of people do, through someone he cared about. He met Devin through the United States Postal Service in 2015. They worked out of the same facility in Longmont. They were together long enough to have a son, a boy named Chase. When the relationship ended, Jason stayed in Longmont. Devon transferred to the Loveland facility 30 miles south. The distance was supposed to make things manageable. For a while, it did. The people Jason worked alongside knew him. His coworker Jessica described someone who talked openly about his life.
It was a horribly thought out plan. And so I just felt that she couldn't have done it alone.
He kept her informed, not because he needed an audience, but because he trusted her. His supervisors knew him by his route, his habits, his consistency. He was not the kind of person who disappeared without explanation or left a truck running at the curb. He had a son he was fighting to spend more time with. Chase was 5 years old. On his custody weeks with Devin, he sometimes brought things back to his father, small gestures that arrived without much explanation. Flowers, once, roses. Chase had carried them in, set them down, and told his father it was a secret. He said it the way a 5-year-old says most things. Completely, without self-consciousness, without understanding why the instruction had been given. At the time, it seemed like the kind of thing a hurt person does, a reminder of what once existed, sent through the one messenger who could not be turned away. At the time, it seemed small. Jason had recently filed papers through his attorney seeking expanded custody time. His lawyer had moved on October 11th. Devin would have been served within days. He knew it would create friction. He had told the people around him, carefully, one piece at a time, what was happening. He was also living with a woman named Rosa. Rosa was Devin's sister. That detail had a complicated history of its own. Devin and Rosa had been estranged for nearly a decade before reconnecting in late 2020. They had moved in together briefly, sharing an apartment in Longmont. The arrangement had ended badly. Devin had found out about something between Rosa and one of Devin's ex-partners and had asked Rosa to leave. Rosa had moved in with Jason. What began as a practical situation had become something more serious. Devin, by the accounts of people around her, was not visibly enraged by this. She made small comments, a remark about passing along something to Jason's new girlfriend, a clipped joke at an exchange. She showed up at Jason's workplace one day and said she was there to help with deliveries. The moment Jason left for his route, she left too, having helped with nothing. These things were noted. They were uncomfortable. They did not yet look like what they were. Devin still had access. That was the part that should not have been possible. She had left the Longmont Postal Facility long before October 2021. She was employed in Loveland, assigned to a different station, a different route, a different case. Entry to postal facilities is code-controlled. Codes are updated when employees leave. Each carrier assigned their own individual number. Logged on, entry, traceable. Sometime around the 1st of October, less than 2 weeks before the shooting, Devin was seen inside the Longmont facility, not at the public counter, not waiting in a supervised area. She was standing at Jason's case. A postal case is where a carrier organizes their entire working day. It is where the mail is sorted and sequenced, where route maps are stored, where a person's jacket hangs, where their keys sit. Devin was going through the pockets of Jason's jacket when a supervisor spotted her. She had not checked in with anyone. She had not asked for permission or assistance. When the supervisor walked toward her, Devin simply left. The facility manager could not say with certainty how Devin had gotten in. She might have slipped in behind another carrier during a busy dispatch. She might have been given Jason's access code during the years they had worked together. Either possibility pointed to the same conclusion. Devin understood how this building operated, and she had used that understanding to be somewhere she had no reason to be. The codes were changed. Jason was not directly told the reason. The incident was noted internally, and no formal action was taken. What a person wants when they stand at their ex-partner's workstation and go through his jacket pockets is a question the investigation would eventually answer. But in the first days of October 2021, it was treated as an awkward intrusion by a woman who had not fully accepted the boundaries of a situation she no longer belonged to. It did not yet look like reconnaissance. It did not yet look like the final stage of a plan. Before we continue, if you found yourself needing to know what happens next, that is what this channel is built for. Subscribe so the next case finds you. Back to the story. Devin knew Jason's route number. She had known it for years. This was not, on its own, unusual. She had worked out of the same facility. She understood the geography of the system, how routes were numbered, how cases were assigned, how a carrier's daily path was structured into a predictable sequence from first delivery to last. What became significant was the accumulation of things she had been doing with that knowledge. She had attended exchanges in the facility car park and then walked inside using a handoff as a reason to enter a building that was not her workplace. On at least one of these occasions, she had been observed going through Jason's case before anyone noticed she was there. She had moved to a new address and refused to tell Jason where it was. When he asked through lawyers, through mutual contacts, she declined. She had applied for a restraining order against him in the early years of Chase's life, citing a physical altercation while she was holding their infant son. When the time came to make it permanent, she had withdrawn the application. Jason had started to name what he was sensing. He told Rosa that Devin showing up at his work felt deliberate, not grief or lingering feeling, but something more directed. He told co-workers about the custody papers with a mixture of relief and apprehension, as though getting the courts formally involved might create structure around something that had none. He described Devin's behavior as building towards something, without being able to say what. What he did not know, what Rosa knew, only from having heard it said and having not understood its full weight at the time, was that Devin had told AJ, her boyfriend, that AJ was aware of where Jason lived. That, if it came to it, AJ would shoot him. Devin would later deny this. AJ would later describe it as a casual remark made in a heated moment, but Rosa had heard it. She had told investigators about it. And the investigation that followed would ultimately make clear that this was not a remark made carelessly. AJ was a correctional officer. He understood institutional systems, documentation, records, the importance of being somewhere accountable when something significant happened. His day off was Wednesday. Jason's Somerset Meadows route was a Wednesday route. By October 12th, Jason's attorney had confirmed the custody filing. Devin had been notified, or was about to be. The following morning, Jason loaded his truck, punched in his code, sorted his case, and set out for Somerset Meadows. At 12:30 in the afternoon, on a residential street quiet enough that 4 gunshots carried clearly through the walls of nearby houses, Jason Schaefer was shot while standing at the community mailboxes on his route. The truck was running, the mail was out, nothing had been taken. He was hit 4 times. He was still alive when officers reached him. A neighbor, a woman who had been sitting at her desk and come outside after the third or fourth sound because she could not tell herself it was something else, found him on the ground and called 911.
I know the mailman comes noonish, so I had seen the truck out there. I was sitting on my desk. I heard 1, 2, by the third noise. To me, I was like, what is that? It sounded like someone banging on something. By the third noise, I came out here, and then the fourth one went off. I saw a man in a hoodie, dark clothing, medium-sized, not huge, not small, medium-sized man, jogging on that path. So I saw him jog on that path, and then I saw him cut over to the road, and I didn't follow where he went from there. I went downstairs and outside. I called 911. So one of the 911 calls was from me.
Okay.
And I went over to the postman who was on the ground, bleeding from his mouth. The 911 officer was trying to talk me into doing CPR, and I was afraid, and I didn't do CPR. I waited till the police woman came, and the police woman started CPR.
She was asked by the dispatcher to start CPR. She was afraid. She waited for the responding officer, who began compressions while backup was requested, and a perimeter was established. The camera moves toward the mailboxes. What it found on the other side does not need to be shown. The responding officers have already described it. CPR continued for several minutes at the scene. Paramedics arrived and took over. Jason died en route to the hospital. Not a single piece of mail was missing. The truck sat at the curb with its engine still running long after the street had filled with emergency vehicles and yellow tape and people standing in their doorways trying to understand what had just happened on their ordinary Wednesday. Every case on this channel is covered with the same care you have seen here. If that matters to you, subscribe. There are people in these stories who deserve an audience that is paying attention. Now the truth begins to surface. Most of the cameras in Somerset Meadows were pointed the wrong way. This is not an unusual failure. Cameras are installed by homeowners protecting a front door, a driveway, a car, not a community mailbox cluster 60 feet away. The shooter had known this, or had accepted it as probable. What they had not accounted for was one house, one camera, with a direct and unobstructed view of everything. The footage showed a figure in dark clothing approach along the path that ran alongside the houses, waiting, watching the mail truck. The moment Jason turned toward the boxes, the figure moved. The shots came rapidly, one after the other. Then the figure turned and ran back along the path, back toward the road, back toward a car. License plate readers in the neighborhood had captured Devon's black Nissan Rogue at 12:06 p.m., 24 minutes before the first 911 call, in a location consistent with the shooter's approach and retreat. The car was identifiable by a missing front passenger hubcap, visible in every frame. Devon said she had been in Loveland all day. The visits to the facility, the trips through the jacket pockets, the route number she already knew, the exchanges at the car park that turned into walks inside, the flowers Chase had brought home, the roses, the secret. Devon had not been managing grief or maintaining proximity out of unresolved feeling. She had been building a targeting map. Every visit she made to Jason's case was a data point. Every time she used a handoff as a reason to stand inside his workplace, she was confirming details, route number, departure time, the layout of the stop where the community boxes sat and a person's back would be turned toward the path, Devon's postal scanner, the device she was required to use on her route to log each package. Delivery told a different story than she did. GPS data embedded in the scanner placed it stationary for more than 3 hours that afternoon. Not in Loveland, not on her route, but near AJ's home. She said she had left it in the truck while she went inside for lunch. She said they had argued. She said he had left and she had been too upset to work. AJ had spent that morning tracking Jason's location. His phone placed him moving through Longmont in parallel with Jason's route, close enough to see where the truck stopped and when, right up until approximately 45 minutes before the shooting. Then he had driven to Hooters, where he sat with friends and established an alibi. He had not been having lunch with Devin. Devin, at 12:06 p.m., was 4 blocks from the community mailboxes in Somerset Meadows. A Snapchat photograph recovered from AJ's phone had been sent by Devin before the shooting. She was wearing the same outfit. The figure in the surveillance footage would later be seen wearing dark hoodie, dark trousers. She had sent it from a bathroom she used regularly. She had not attempted to disguise where or who it came from. This had been planned. Devin had told AJ 3 days prior that she intended to go to Jason's apartment in the middle of the night. He said he had talked her out of it. On October 13th, he was no longer able to. When Devin was brought to the police station that evening, she believed she was there to collect Chase. Her son had been retrieved from his daycare. Devin had already called the school, asking carefully whether Jason had picked him up, calibrating her words to sound like a mother, waiting on a co-parenting handoff and nothing more.
Is Eilish still there? You are just batting 1,000. No, Eilish just left. They were really short on kids this week, so she left. Okay. Okay, well, I don't know what's happening because people keep calling me and telling me that something has happened to Jason, and if he hasn't picked up, that makes me wonder if something did actually happen. So, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get there.
Sam, when you stand by.
I'm in Fort Collins right now, because I wasn't supposed to have him stay Jason. So, if I get a hold of Eilish, can I have her? Sure. Yeah, that would be fine. Okay. Okay. Let me see what I can figure out, and I'll see if I can get a hold of Eilish. Okay. If Jason ends up showing up in the next 30 minutes, can you let me know, because I need to try to get a hold of him too. I don't know what's happening. Sure, I absolutely will. Yep. Okay, great. Okay. Thank you so much. Because I don't want to cause a problem with him because it's his day, so I don't want him to start problems just running late. But I know he usually picks him up by 4:30. So yeah, he does usually pick him up a lot earlier. So it is weird. Yeah. Okay. Well, if he happens to give me a call, but if not, I will see if I can send Eilish there to come grab him before 5:30. Okay. All right. I'll be here either way. Okay. Thank you. Sure. Okay. Bye. Bye.
Okay. Thank you.
She had not been told she was a suspect. She arrived, performing concern. When the detective told Devon that Jason had died, watch what she asks. Not whether he suffered. She asks where he was shot. She asks what time it happened. She asks who called it in.
He died today.
What? How? What happened?
Someone shot him in the face.
In the face? Where?
On his postal route.
He was working today? He doesn't...
Yeah. Yeah, he was working. And someone came up and shot him.
When did this happen?
12:32 today.
It is 6 o'clock.
These are the questions of someone mapping out what investigators know not a woman receiving devastating news about the father of her child. A U.S. postal inspector brought in because both Devin and Jason were active postal employees, worked through her account of the day with specific technical precision. He understood how routes functioned, how scanners logged data, what a carrier's day should look like against the record. Devin's story scanner in the truck, lunch at AJ's house, too upset to work for a while, collapsed cleanly against every data point the investigation had already collected. When the inspector showed her a photograph of her car at the shooting location at 12:06 p.m., Devin did not say it was impossible. She said she did not have an answer for it. That distinction, not denying the fact, only refusing to explain it, was its own kind of statement. AJ was interviewed separately. His account shifted as investigators laid out what they had recovered. He eventually told detectives that Devin had called him the morning of October 13th and told him she had decided to go through with it. He said he had gone out to Jason's route that morning because he believed that if he saw her in person, he could stop her. He said that when it became clear he could not, he had driven to Jason's truck and warned him directly. Jason, AJ claimed, had said he was not afraid of Devin, and then he had gone back to work. No one could confirm AJ's account of that warning. The only person who could have confirmed or denied it was already dead. What the records confirmed independently of AJ's testimony was this. He had spent the morning of October 13th tracking Jason Schaefer's precise location through a residential neighborhood. He had stayed on the phone with Devin throughout. He had known, when he left for Hooters, that Devin was still in Longmont, and that she had told him that morning she had everything she needed to go through with it.
Remember, like, if we showed you a picture of her car, would you remember what it looks like?
So this is her car on a license plate reader back
That's
in
her
May.
car. That's her car. That's her car.
This is down at the scene, the neighborhood of the shooting. You can see the time, 12:06.
That's her car.
So originally you told us that she was up there at your house with you until 12:15 when you left to go to Hooters. Can you explain that? We're trying to verify Devin's timeline right now. That's the thing.
Yeah. She was not with me. She wasn't with me before that. She came over to my house after I was done with Hooters for about 10 minutes. For about 10 minutes. What happened when she got there? She stopped, used the bathroom, grabbed some water. Did she leave anything? No.
So if you want to give us answers, now's the time to give them to us. These investigations move fast. You know that. We get this data fast. You only get a couple opportunities to give us explanations for what's going on. We're trying to find the truth.
So her and I were talking in the morning when I dropped her off at my house, and I didn't necessarily think too much of it. I thought that we were going to fool around after she got off, and because we'd done that in the past. After she had gotten to work, or on her way to work, she had called me and told me that she had decided that that was what she thought needed to happen. And she had told me that she had thought about doing this before. Actually, 3 days prior to that, she told me that she was going to do this, and I talked her out of it. So, and that night, she was going to do it at his apartment in the middle of the night. I talked her out of it. I had to go over there and do it face to face. But she didn't do it that night. This morning, she told me that she was going to do it, and she told me that she had already had everything that she needed to make it happen. And I tried to talk her out of it. And she went to work and told me that there was no talking her out of it. So after talking to her, and she's mentioned it in the past, and she has talked about his route because she knows the Longmont routes. So I went out there. I knew his route number. I found him. And I continued to stay on the phone with her and try to tell her, to try to talk her out of it. But I thought that she was going to go there a lot earlier than that. I thought that if I would see her, I could stop her. She kept talking to me and never showed up there. I guess she was casing at the time. So eventually she told me, you know what, don't worry about it. I'm not going to do it. It's fine. I'm going to go back to work, and she hung up the phone with me. At that point in time, I stopped over at his truck, and I told him that he should watch out for her because I think she's planning on doing something. I don't think he remembered who I was because he said, what? He just looked at me and was, what? And I was like, Devin, I said, she's unstable right now, and I think that she's going to do something stupid. And he said, I'm not scared of that. And I said, okay. And I left. At that time,
Devin had gone to Jason's facility and stood at his case not once, but at least twice in the weeks before the shooting. She had photographed herself in the outfit she intended to wear and sent that photograph to AJ. She had told her 5-year-old son to bring his father flowers and to say it was a secret. Chase was 5 years old on the 13th of October 2021. He was old enough to carry roses across a threshold and deliver a message he had been told to give. He was not old enough to understand what his mother had sent him to do, or what it meant, or why the detail of a secret had been included. Jason had spent the final weeks of his life filing paperwork in family court because he wanted more time with his son. He had not known that the effort to secure Chase's future was the thing that had made Devin certain she was running out of time. This is the kind of case that stays with you. If you want a channel that treats every story with this level of seriousness, subscribe. This channel is built for people who want to actually understand what happened, not just watch it. Devin Schreiner went to trial in early 2023. The prosecution's case rested on license plate reader data, placing her vehicle in Somerset Meadows 24 minutes before the shooting. GPS records from her abandoned scanner showing it stationary near AJ's home throughout the window of the murder. Phone records documenting the calls between Devin and AJ before, during, and after the event. AJ's own account of the planning conversations that had taken place in the 3 days prior. The surveillance footage from the neighbor's camera showing a figure matching Devin's height and build in the exact outfit she had documented herself wearing in a Snapchat photograph sent that same morning. On the 7th of March, 2023, Devin Schreiner was found guilty of first-degree murder. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. AJ Ritchie was tried separately. The central question before his jury was the one he had raised himself in interrogation. Was he a man who had tried to prevent a murder, who had tracked Jason's route in a genuine attempt to intervene, who had gone to warn the victim and been dismissed? Or was he the person whose detailed knowledge of Jason's Wednesday schedule, whose morning spent feeding Devin a live update of Jason's location, whose calls throughout the event made him something more purposeful than a helpless bystander? This is what he said then. This is what the jury decided. On the 27th of September, 2023, AJ Ritchie was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The Postal Service is built on a particular kind of trust. Carriers move through neighborhoods with access no other stranger has to boxes, to buildings, to the reliable vulnerability of a person standing with their back to a path, hands occupied, attention on the task in front of them. The people who work inside that system understand its architecture intimately. Devin had used that understanding precisely. She had used her former access to learn his schedule. She had used the familiarity of an ex-partner co-parenting through the same institution to walk in and out of a building she had no right to enter. She had used a 5-year-old boy as a messenger. No policy had stopped her from returning to that facility. The codes were changed only after she had already been found inside. The access control systems that existed were not designed for a scenario where someone with prior legitimate access used the residue of that knowledge and the familiarity that came with it to plan a killing. The gap was not a failure of any single rule. It was the kind of gap that only becomes visible after someone has already moved through it. Chase Schaefer lost his father before he was old enough to know what a custody filing was, or why his mother had told him the flowers were a secret, or what it meant that his father had not come to pick him up that Wednesday afternoon. The mail still comes to this neighborhood. Another carrier, another route number, another Wednesday. The community mailboxes are the same ones. The path that runs alongside the houses is still there, the same width, the same angle, the same distance from the cluster of boxes where a person sorting mail would stand with their back turned. There is one question the evidence does not fully answer: whether Jason Schaefer heard the warning AJ claims he delivered at the truck that morning. Whether, in the last part of his ordinary working day, someone had come and stood beside him and told him Devin was planning something, and he had looked back at the man and said he was not afraid, and meant it, and gone back to work. AJ said it happened. No one else witnessed it. The only person who could have confirmed it went back to sorting his route and was shot 4 times 45 minutes later. What is documented is this: Jason knew something was building. He had told the people around him. He had named Devin's behavior as deliberate, as escalating. He had filed papers in court because he believed the formal structures of a custody arrangement would create safety where informal ones had not. He was 33 years old And he was a father who wanted more time with his son, and he went to work on a Wednesday morning in October and never came home. Jason Schaefer,